past year in India, we've seen this sudden burst in e-commerce. Perhaps the visibility is more than the actual business. Maybe the business of e-commerce only has maybe 1% of the total retail sales. But nevertheless, it's poised to grow and is perhaps at an inflection point. To discuss that as a sunrise theme, which is really Adrian Mowat's theme, we have with us Yogesh Dingra, the CFO and CEO of Bluedart, and Ranjan Kumar of Dion Global Solutions. Dion, of course, is a think tank which has done a lot of work on the e-commerce sector and its growth. Our guest editor, Adrian Mowat, is also with us. Adrian, you want to shoot first?
Yeah, so let's first of all get a pulse on the Indian economy from the logistics business. I mean, are you seeing a noticeable pickup in activity?
I guess it's going to start. Whatever we hear from our customers and from the marketplace, there's a huge improvement in sentiment. And I guess post-budget, and there should be a good revival. And the next few years, what we hear are going to be very exciting for the country. And if those are exciting for the country, from the GDP perspective, it's good for the express industry as well. Because generally we have seen that there is a good multiplier. So if GDP is X, then the express industry growth is 2X, if not more. So that way, yes, it's going to be the exciting times ahead. And more so with the now almost clear that GST is going to come effective April 16. So that's another boost for our business and for the industry. And if India is going to become efficient with the GDP coming in, with the GST, major gains would be with the logistics sector.
So to paraphrase your answer, at the moment you're not seeing a significant pickup, but the optimism is there that that's what's about to happen?
Well, you see, over the last 6 months, there has been some positive trend. But if one has to say about substantial, I think that would take some time in terms of the B2B growth. But B2C, e-com is booming. It's growing at a pace which nobody had anticipated. Everybody is gearing up to just, put the various pieces together to handle that huge surge of growth which is happening.
And how important is the decline in energy prices for you?
Well, you see, it is certainly good, but we as an organization always have, some kind of a mechanism which neutralizes, So yes, whatever is there will get passed on to the customers and good for the economy.
Okay. What you said that the e-commerce piece saw a fairly substantial growth. Can you put some numbers to it?
In terms of the growth,
your own
number
business.
of people. We are having a growth between about, I would say, 75 to 100% on that segment.
Okay, year on year. You mean you've seen that over 2014 and 13?
14 over 13.
Okay. Well, let me get Ranjan on that issue since he has done a lot of research. Ranjan, give us the industry perspective. How much is e-commerce growing? How much is business growing? And what are you projecting over the next 2-3 years?
Yes. As a research house, we track emerging below-the-radar investment opportunities very closely. And here, within the e-commerce sector, e-commerce enablement industry is something which has grabbed our attention for some time now. And within e-commerce enablement, I would say e-commerce logistics. And this is where we have done some numbers. And our research sort of suggests that we are looking at a very lucrative upside over the next 5 to 7 year horizon in e-commerce logistics sector and broadly in the e-commerce enablement industry. Now, let me share with you some quick numbers. We are currently, in 2013, there was a CLSA report which mentioned about 3 billion as the e-commerce industry size, excluding online retail. If you include online retail, then we're talking about USD $13 billion. But let's exclude online retail and online travel bookings. And then we have close to US $3.1 billion for rest of the online retail industry. And out of this, globally, the benchmark is about 9 to 10% is logistics cost. So The 3.1 billion is projected, and we have done a market modeling around this. It's projected to increase to about 22 to 25 billion as e-commerce industry market size by 2020. And this is excluding online travel segment.
Okay.
Now, if you were to take 9 to 10% of 22 to 25 billion, we are looking at least 2.5 to 2.8 billion in sales as industry sales for e-commerce logistics sector by 2020. Okay. Now, I apply another number to it, which is the valuation multiple. Recently, there have been two deals, which is delivery and e-com logistics. They got private equity investment, and the multiples there were in the range of 2.5 to 3 times. Okay. So if you take sales multiple of 2.5 to 3 times, we are talking of an industry valuation of at least 7.5 to 8 billion for e-commerce logistics by 2020. Now, it is common sense there. If we apply, we can say that there is an opportunity for at least 3 to 4 blockbuster stories, which is $1 billion plus in valuation, amongst e-commerce logistics firm in the next 5 to 7 years. And there must be at least 12 to 14 capable contenders we are looking at in this space. And as the discussion progresses, I will be happy to also share what kind of logistics players and invisible players, so to speak, who are currently not seen, we would be getting to see on the horizon as great investment bets in the next 5 to 7 years.
All right. I just want to take that point forward that you made. Adrian, you have a comment to make on that?
So just a quick question. On e-commerce, is there a minimum level of income before someone will start to use e-commerce so that we can work out what percentage of the Indian economy or the Indian population would be interested in e-commerce?
Now, that's an interesting question, Adrian, because now, to the extent we have been in touch with e-commerce players, we get to see that they are much more gung-ho about tier 2, tier 3 cities in India in terms of growth potential than about metros and tier 1 cities. So when you ask about income, I would say it is the middle class Indian aspiration, and the middle class is variously defined. It's a big range, but let's say something around US dollar 5,000 per annum as household income, going up to $15,000 to $20,000 per annum. It is that segment in tier 2, tier 3 cities which would be on some kind of a cusp or inflection point, waiting eagerly to come onto e-commerce bandwagon as customers.
Some of the numbers you threw out, I thought sounded quite conservative when compared to the Chinese story.
That's right. Yes.
You know, if you look at how quickly e-commerce is built in China, what a large market share it's got, and the types of revenues that are already being generated, you know, even with the relatively smaller size of the Indian economy, I would have thought you'd have come out with bigger numbers.
Right. Yes, so we have taken a very conservative estimate. You're right, Adrian. Indeed, we came across industry numbers, and this includes numbers given by Flipkart, Snapdeal founders, co-founders. So they are also very authentic sources. But the range is wide. It is from 60 to 70% and goes up to 300, 400%. Now, what we did, we have taken a conservative set of assumptions. And that is how we are projecting to $22 to $25 billion, excluding online travel segment. But perhaps if I were to stick my neck out and take a bit of an optimistic estimate, it could very well be two times of what we are projecting, at least. So we must be looking at $40 to $50 billion in industry size by 2020. And correspondingly, therefore, for e-commerce logistics, of 9 to 10% of that, and then 2.5 to 3 times of the sales turnover as valuation multiple. Correspondingly, the opportunity for investors and for entrepreneurs, that goes up significantly.
Mr. Dingra, current market cap at all? Is it what, 2 billion in terms of the companies that are listed?
Well, but think about companies like Alibaba, JD.com.
No, I mean in India. What is the gap? I mean, it looks like the listed stocks are hardly a couple of billion.
We're talking about the size in 2020, you know, several $billion compared to $100 billion companies that we have out there at this point.
So typically what does happen? Do listed companies scale up, or do you see altogether new entrants?
Well, if you take Alibaba, it wasn't a listed company and only recently listed. JD.com has only also listed as well. That was private equity funded. So the model in China seems to have been private capital and then eventually come to listing.
Okay. I want to get Mr. Dingra into this conversation. Talking about the potential that Ranjan just mentioned, how much do you think your own company could grow in the next couple of years? And also, I want to know what the increase in the operational performance could look like, because even though you're seeing 20% growth in your top line, your margins continue to be in that 9 to 10% range. Do you see scope for further improvement in your operational performance as well?
As I mentioned, once the economy starts showing a revival, you would see more of the volumes coming in. And certainly when you have your fixed cost, you have the possibility of improvement of your margin. But as the B2C segment is growing, there is a lot of investment which is lined up and is happening. So over a period of time, certainly you will see that on all the fronts there would be some positive thing which will happen.
So will you be investing into incremental capex to increase, say, warehouse, etc.?
Yes, we have been over the years. Even though there was a slowdown, we never cut down on our investments. Those would continue.
Can you quantify it for us?
We have been close to about 120 crores range investment happening over the last 3 to 4 years, and that would continue in the next 4 to 5 years. And we are a cash positive company, ample surplus funds to invest on both on the traditional products as well as on the e-com side. So you will see a lot of investment which will continue.
What are the barriers for an Amazon or an Alibaba coming into India to set up their own wholly owned business?
In terms of the logistics space?
Yes. Yeah, in terms, if we think about their models where they own all the logistics as well.
Well, our feeling is that it will be a combination of both. You'll have some of your own as well as an outsource, because there is a lot of things which can only be given by the express service providers like us. And if you have to move stuff from one place to another, you need an aircraft. You need huge air capacity. I think those can be provided by us in a very efficient manner. Apart from that, we have the expertise in the last mile, where the Amazons and Flipkarts can ride on us in terms of our expertise on that. So it's since the demand is so high, you will see that everybody need to play in outsourced providers as well as in-house units. But the certain things which can only be done by us.
All right, so talking about Amazon, is Amazon in talks with your company to buy any stake?
I guess there was a rumor, and we have clarified to the stock exchanges. It's there on the BSE and NSE.
Yes, I know, we saw that, but nothing in future?
I think it's better that you go through that NSE and BSE notification.
All right, we have done that, but thank you so much for joining us and giving us clarity on what the logistics sector could look like. Final word from your end on the opportunities that one can have in this sector?
I think the opportunity is huge, and India doesn't need to go down the route of having huge out-of-town shopping centres. There are lots of issues here in developing real estate. It's probably more efficient to go down the e-commerce route, and you probably need a bit of local knowledge to get yourself around the potholes that are out there really in the infrastructure.
Yes, bookstores will become out of fashion, to
Sadly.
be sure. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dingra and Ranjan, for joining in this conversation.